Hello, everyone. Welcome here into the Monday edition of Trending Politics Live. Clayton Kearns here on a Monday, August 24th. We've got an amazing show for you guys today. So, without further ado, as many of you guys have seen in the title, I'm going to be interviewing Pennsylvania 18 House candidate Luke Negron. But first, I'm going to show you a video to introduce him. If you are from Pennsylvania, then I want to see you in the comments below. I see San Antonio, I see Florida, I see Kentucky. Idaho, welcome in. Now, if you are from Pennsylvania, I also want to see an extra special shout out because we got a great guest here. So I'm going to play a little video here to get you a little introduced to Luke, and then we are going to bring him on the air. So here we go, and I'm going to play this right now.
The Second Amendment is not a suggestion. It is not a gift from a gracious government. It's a right. The idea of come and take it has been called mindless violence and hateful. It's neither of those things. Come and take it reflects the exact message of our nation's Constitution. Come and take it is what we said to the British in the 1700s. It's what we said at the Battle of the Bulge. It's what we said about democracy in the Cold War. We have these rights. We are a free people. If you want to change that freedom, come and take it, because our freedoms do not end where fear begins.
All right, so with that said, let me bring him on here. Luke, how's it going, brother?
Hey, Clayton. Hey, I heard you shout out San Antonio. I have a special place in my heart. JBSA, Lackland is where I spent many months, maybe too many months. So hello to those people. Hello to you, Clayton. Good to be here.
All right, man. Yeah, great to have you on here. Yeah, we've got well over 2,000 people on live now, so I'm excited to see that. And then as soon as as many more comments come, so we got Western Pennsylvania in the house saying they're in here. So guys, let me know where in Pennsylvania you're at. So Luke, tell me real quick, because I'm not familiar with the Pennsylvania area. So you are running for House candidate in Pennsylvania 18. Can you tell me like the regions or like how that all breaks up so we can get more familiar with that area?
Yeah. So for the non-Pennsylvanians out there, we'll say Pittsburgh and the surrounding regions. That's the easy way to say it. For the Western Pennsylvanians out there, it's going to be Pittsburgh proper, the city, and then what we call the South Hills. So Bethel Park, Upper St. Clair, Jay Hills, Pleasant Hills, over a little bit to the east, up north towards Plumboro.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. So everyone commenting in here, we will. So now you have a little bit better of idea. So yesterday, Luke and I were chatting, and we were chatting for like 30 minutes. So we're setting up today's call and everything, and we're like, we should probably talk about what we're going to talk about tomorrow, because we were just like, we got on the phone and then we just started talking politics. So we're going to talk about everybody a few different things here today. So we're going to be talking about the state of Pennsylvania, okay? Obviously, extremely crucial state here in the 2020 election. Luke and I were actually doing a little bit of math beforehand, and we're going to be going through an interactive electoral college map with you guys to show you just how crucial Pennsylvania is going to be to President Trump's reelection, because it is going to be huge. So we're going to go in that, President Trump's chances, what is going on in the ground there. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about the RNC coming up, a little bit of the DNC preview, because I know you have maybe just a couple thoughts about that. And then we're going to be talking about what you're doing and how we can help you, how we can support you, follow you, and then more importantly, what you're doing to take down the Democrat incumbent who you are running against. And we will get into that. Okay, man. So first and foremost, I want to talk about Pennsylvania in general. Okay, so you're on the ground, you're doing events. What are you seeing on the ground? And because we were talking a little bit about yesterday, so just start telling me, spouting off about what people are saying about the general election in general, and then just about politics and what's going on in our country.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, PA right now is extremely energized. As you and I discussed, the Republicans right now are out registering voters by a ratio of 5 to 1. That is groundbreaking, because in the 2008 and 2012 elections, Republicans were essentially flatlined, not only in PA, but nationally. And in voter registration, Dems were on the rise, though. That scenario has entirely been flipped on its head. And I think that's extremely exciting. Pennsylvania as a state, I mean, look, the region of Philadelphia is deep blue. It's always going to be deep blue. And then Harrisburg is pretty blue. Other than that, the rest of the state is going red. We all know it. And we believe we can also flip both PA-17 and PA-18. My friend Sean Parnell right next door to us, just west of the Berg, and then PA-18. And the people here, I'll tell you, in this district, these are working class people, blue collar individuals who, even though they may be registered as Ds, these are not radicals. This is not Los Angeles, and they are energized to defend their jobs and to stand up to some of the lawlessness that we've seen happening. So it's been a great. It's like 2020 has been one big commercial for conservatives.
I mean, it's been so we were, this was the part that I started getting like really passionate yesterday. So, I mean, I used to be a server at a restaurant in 2010 or so, a little bit after that as well. But basically, I was putting myself in my shoes back in those days because obviously with any of the shutdowns, that didn't affect the work I currently do, owning the website and everything like that. But I put myself in the shoes of people who, for instance, restaurant workers, all these people who have lost their jobs, lost their livelihoods, lost their ability to feed their family because of these shutdowns. But at the same time that the Democrats are telling them that they still need to be shut down and them that they can't be open at full capacity, right? Because a restaurant can still be open, but they might only need 5 servers now because they can only open up so many tables. But at the same time, they're saying, hey, if you want to protest in the name of Black Lives Matter or social justice, then that's okay. And then more importantly, they stay silent when rioting and looting is happening. So what have you heard from people there? And just talk to me a little bit about what you think about that dichotomy, that hypocrisy there.
I mean, that hypocrisy is blatant, and it's blatant for anyone who has their eyes open and anyone who's willing to reason through things internally. And I think that immediately rules out the radical left, which is 20 to
All right, everybody. It looks like we lost Luke here for a second. I'm going to text him and jump him back on everybody. So feel free to stay here with me, guys. He's going to right back on. So as I told you guys, so that's one of the things that really got to me yesterday, right? Is that the left has consistently said, hey, if you want to protest in the name of social justice, if you want to protest, hey, man, if you want to go out there, that's fine. We're living through a historic moment. But hey, if you want to open up your business on Main Street, you want to protest for any other reason, then guess what? According to the Democrats, that is not okay. That is not okay. And Mayor Bill de Blasio has flat out said that. He has flat out said, well, we're living through a historic moment right now. And, this is a time where we're not going to tell anyone not to protest. Well, if the coronavirus was as bad or is as dangerous as everyone was saying, then guess what? Then they wouldn't have people going out there and protesting. So it's clear that it's all political. It's clear that it's all political and that they don't really, really care about the working people because they care about pushing an agenda. They care about pushing an agenda that they want to push, a narrative that they want to push. So it looks like we got Luke here back again. He should be good to go. Let me bring him back on here. Let me see here. All right, I'm trying to bring him back on. Are you there, Luke? All right, having a little bit of all right, we lost him again, but no worries, okay? So we're going to get this situated. Sometimes these things happen, you guys. So if you comment below, guys, let me know what you're thinking about that because whether or not you lost your job, whether or not you lost your source of income, it is blatant hypocrisy by the left, right? And furthermore, they're pushing things out at the DNC that were just absolutely not true. Things that were absolutely not true. Things that were just almost parody. I mean, Luke and I were talking yesterday, and it was crazy because the DNC basically became a parody show. They're going to put the Babylon Bee out of business here pretty soon because they call the China virus the European virus. They put Elizabeth Warren on the Native American panel. They put Stacey Abrams on the governor panel. And now they're telling you that you can't open your business. But hey, if these people want to protest in the name of social justice, then guess what? You go right ahead. So it looks like on my side here, Luke has all green bars now. So I believe he's back up. Luke, how's it going, brother?
All right, there we go. I got you. Sorry, man. I don't know what happened there. It froze up and kicked me off there. But
okay, no worries.
Could not agree more with what you're saying. I mean, as I think I cut off right when I was saying the hypocrisy is being aired out for everybody to see. And I love that. I love that the elites now who are willing to sell out people for votes and to sell out people for money, for power, everyone can see this. Small business owners, workers, like you said, the people who really hit both of us in an emotional sense are these people who are living paycheck to paycheck, service workers. And they are now being told that their small business, their mom and pop shop, or their local restaurant might never come back. In
Yes.
Pennsylvania, ranges are estimates go as high as 60% will never reopen when you're
That's
talking about restaurants.
that's
It's insane.
yeah, and a lot of those restaurants are owned by, because of course there are the huge restaurant chains that maybe have the
Yes.
infrastructure, right, to have delivery. I mean, I guess with Uber Eats and with DoorDash, it's made things a little easier, for local people. But at the same time, it's just rough. And so I was telling you yesterday, is I put myself back in my, it was actually a restaurant called Macaroni Grill. I'm not sure if they have those in Pennsylvania.
Sounds
Macaroni
gourmet.
Grill. Yeah, well, yeah, it's like Italian. It's like American Italian, not super Italian, but it's here in
Right.
Montclair, California. You spent a little bit of time in Southern California, so it was actually Montclair, California, technically LA County, just leaving the Inland Empire. And basically, I was putting myself in those shoes, saying, if I was a server and I am now unable to pay my bills because of this is just
Yes.
ridiculous. And it would make me even more furious to see all that can be allowed by the left, but you can't go to work. You can't even open at full capacity. And so
Right.
that,
I mean, the crazy comparison there is literally in 2 weeks, you saw that in 1 week, if you opened your small business, you could go to jail in certain states.
yeah,
The
yeah.
next week, if you burn down someone else's small business, you're called a peaceful protester. That is
And
truly insanity.
and then there's a fund started called the Minnesota Fund or whatever it was.
Bail them out.
Bail
Right?
you out. Bail you out.
And you've got these elitist celebrities donating and publicly speaking out in support of that fund, and the working class steps back and goes, "Well, I guess screw us, right?" I mean, like that's literally the message we're getting.
Yes, exactly. And then meanwhile, all these small businesses are closing down, but which businesses are thriving the most from it? Target just came out with their earnings report. Their profits were up by 80%. Amazon, I mean, look at these, these are public companies, and hey, bravo to them for having a service that serves so many people, right? That is what the free market's about. But at the same time, a small business is also such a key cog of our American economy, and these people are the ones now who hire a lot of people. They're being driven out of
Yes.
business as well, and so the hypocrisy is just absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and all of the competition in the working class, the small businesses, what was just gutted, and now we
yeah,
see it all being all of that business is ushered towards Walmart and the Targets of the world, and
yeah,
now the little guy is saying, when do I ever get a chance to try to bounce back?
exactly. Yeah, and there have been countless stories of people who started businesses right before the coronavirus happened.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then, and then imagine going into that. So before we go on to our next topic, everyone, a lot of people have just joined on. So Luke Negron is here, the House candidate for Pennsylvania 18. If you guys want to check out his website, policy, positions, and help him out in his campaign, they're doing a lot of great work on the ground out there. Go to negron2020.com. The link is going to be below here the entire episode, guys. Okay, so make sure you write that down, scribble it down, and visit that site all the time. Okay, so let's really quickly recap. I just want your general thoughts about the DNC last week, because we talked a lot about that yesterday, you and I on the phone, right? Talk to me about more of the hypocrisy, but just some of
Yes.
the things that they said that maybe stood out to you, or that you just couldn't believe that they said, but they actually went there.
So I'll tell you, the first thing that jumped out to me, I watched Joe Biden's speech in its entirety live. First thing that jumped out to me was a national mask mandate. Look, I'm not an anti-masker. I'm not like one of those people who says like, hey, masks are communist. If you're going to go visit grandma, maybe wear a mask. Sure. But the difference for me is I think it's up to you. And I think it's up to you and your family. And I think that when you're talking about things like a statewide, or in Joe Biden's case, a national mask mandate where men with guns are going to come and either fine or imprison you if you don't mask up in public, that's insanity. And the precedent it sets is that your responsibility for your personal health isn't your responsibility now, it's the government's. And the government gets the ability to tell you what to do with your body, on your body, with your clothing. All of these things are new levels of government intrusion that are beyond dangerous. So Joe Biden openly proclaimed that. And then you touched on it earlier. I mean, we've got these crazy dichotomies where like Bill Clinton is lecturing us about morality, and then you've got CNN commentators saying like, well, but Bill Clinton, it's settled, right? His case is settled. It's done. We know it's all good. It's like, no, it's not all good. This guy's a dirtbag, and most of what he did, he never paid for. And then you've got Elizabeth Warren speaking on behalf of American Indians, which again is like, Wait, 1,024th. We're not talking about double digits percentage of her heritage. She's a fraud. So the fraud is on full display, and you've got to be amused by it. You either laugh or cry.
Yeah, and the one that slayed me the most was Stacey Abrams being on the governor's panel, man. I went back and looked, and I thought, okay, hold on. To be fair, I'm going to go see everyone who was on the governor's panel. So I went to their Twitter profile. That person's a governor. That person's
winner. Yes.
Governor. She was the only one, not a governor, who was on the governor panel. And the reason why is because they still can't accept the fact that she lost. And by the way, she didn't lose by 100 votes. She didn't lose by 500 votes. She lost by 50,000 votes in a governor's race.
Yes.
I mean, imagine that disparity in a governor's race. I mean, let alone a national race, because some of these states, right, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, in the 2016 general election came down to some small votes, but governor race, you got beat by 50,000 votes, and you are saying that you still won, and you're
still relevant. You're a winner. And
it's amazing.
On top of that, the national level hypocrisy that I love to point out is, I think we're all old enough to remember when in 2015 and 2016, Donald Trump said, if I lose the election and I suspect that there has been fraud and corruption, I will not accept the results. I will fight them. And what did CNN say? And MSNBC, they said, anti-American. How can you not do that? He's threatening our democracy. And then what happened? Then Donald Trump won. The DNC turned around. They cried corruption, and they still haven't accepted it.
And then you got Hillary out there saying, I still won. And I won by 3 million votes. I said this on the live last week, is that she's going to take this thing to her grave, man. I mean, she's never going to let it go. She's going to just be clutching her pearls. Man, that next morning, November 9th, 2016, was one of the most memorable days for me of my entire life, man, because she had to stand up there. As you and I spoke right in the little virtual green room here before we went live, right? She was supposed to speak the night that she lost. And the great irony is that if Trump would have lost and not spoke that night, oh my God, they would have. But John Podesta comes out there and everyone get some sleep. There's still a lot of votes to count, and the media's like, okay, let me just fold these papers. Yes, we'll be hearing from Hillary tomorrow. Yes. If it was Trump, it wouldn't have been like that, So tell me about that.
No, he wouldn't have gotten a pass. He would have been called anti-American. He would have been called a threat to democracy and a dictator. But yet when the left does it, they of course get a free pass by the media. That again, we're speaking about people being aired out, people showing their cards. The media, the mainstream media, traditional cable news has shown exactly who they are. They are a campaigning arm of the Democratic Party, and there's little wiggle room for anyone to debate about that after 2020.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, all right, so this was something that you and I put, again, these last minute changes you and I were making. Right before we went live, we were talking about Pennsylvania, how many electoral votes we got going on. So we said, hey, what would be cool is to kind of play a little bit of a game here and do a little bit of an interactive electoral map here. So let me turn off this thing right here. So let me
go.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember I think it was like an NBC analyst, maybe MSNBC, who in 2016 was saying Kansas could be in play for Hillary Clinton. We're talking about Texas flipping for Hillary Clinton. Yeah. And I watch those now, and I just put a smile on my face every time. I watch that, where TYT, Chen Unger melting down, cursing at the screen. He's got spit flying from his mouth, and his cheeks are jiggling as he's freaking out. I love it.
No, those election night recaps, man, are the best videos on YouTube. You had Cenk Uygur, right? You had those, but I'm telling you, I think 2020 might be worse, because I was interviewing. I interviewed Brandon Strzok in the Walk Away Founder. I interviewed him in January, and I told him this year it's like the Titanic for the media. The Titanic seeing the iceberg coming and still sinking, and
full speed.
Now, years. They've had 4 years now
Yes.
to try to take Trump out. If anything, they might have made him more popular. So
Yeah.
I thought it was going to give me like a little bit of a starting point here. But so I want to go through some of these because so you and I were talking about a couple of different scenarios, and everyone, this is why Pennsylvania, you guys, is so crucial to the 2020 election. Because as many of you guys know, I interviewed Scott Pressler here a few weeks back, and Scott Pressler is very simple. He says, oh man, this is going to take probably a little longer. Well, okay, so it's making me do like toss up and all that. So Scott Pressler said that Trump wins Pennsylvania, we win the election. That's what he said there. So what I want to do is I want to go into this a little bit here, and I want to show that if President Trump should just win Pennsylvania, and even if he loses Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota again, which by the way, Michigan is in play. All right. Mm-hmm. And if he keeps Florida, because I absolutely believe that he's going to keep Florida.
Yes.
I don't know why some of these states are there. Florida has an enormous population of people. I mean, especially, the Cubans for Trump down there in Florida, man, they are out in numbers. Like, they do not want communism to come back.
Yes.
Like, they fled that.
They got away from it. They got, 100 miles north, and they're done with it.
Exactly. So absolutely. So let's do a couple more of these. I'm just actually going by memory here. I'm pretty sure.
This is pretty. I agree with this so far, except for Michigan and Minnesota, which I think we're doing for argument's sake, right?
Yeah, we are definitely doing that for argument's sake here. So Ohio, and then again, the winners of the elections over the last few years. So you guys look at, even if President Trump were to drop, you guys can see the screen okay and everything? All right. So even if, you guys, President Trump were to drop Michigan and Wisconsin, he would still have more than enough because you got to, oh my gosh, wow, doing this live, 275, or 270, yes. 270, and he'd be at 282, you guys. So the Rust Belt states here are important. But Luke, tell me about Pennsylvania, what you're seeing there, the energy you're seeing, the Trump signs versus the Biden signs. Tell me about that, because we can see upon this map here, it's going to be crucial for President Trump to win, because if he somehow does lose Michigan and Washington and Wisconsin, then look what happens. If he loses Pennsylvania as well, then we have a very bad situation with Joe Biden's president. So tell me your thoughts about Pennsylvania, the energy you're seeing there right now.
I mean, the energy is entirely shifted to the right side of the aisle, and I'll tell you what. 3 months ago, 4 months ago, you and I talked about this in private. They had us on the ropes. I was looking around and I was like, this is rough right now. But the left pulled their trigger too soon. They shot their shot. America's seeing them for what they are. America's bouncing back. America has survived long enough through this pandemic and through the race riots to now see who actually cares about them and who pays them lip service. And if the left had waited 3 months and pulled their trigger around now, I think we would be having a different discussion. But I'll tell you, I think Joe Biden's already lost PA. He just doesn't know it yet. It's over. It's from what I've been seeing on the ground. And mind you, I am in what they say is a D plus 13 district. So they say that plus 20 is considered unflippable. Plus 13 is an uphill battle. I believe I'm going to win. But nonetheless, the numbers say I'm D plus 13. And I'm saying in this district, it's like all the momentum, all the pride, all the energy is on Trump's side. And then you've got a few grumpy people sitting back in the corner saying, hey, we still hate Trump. That's really the comparison. And everyone else is like, screw this, screw these sellouts. Not only Trump, but we're voting Republican down the ballot. And I don't mean I'm just being told this by Republicans, by local Democrats. They're pulling me aside and saying, like, we can't sign off on what they're doing. Our party's gone nuts. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because imagine, you and I were also talking about this, is that, you got people a lot of people think that, Twitter is how real life is. Twitter is not how real life is. It's very radical one way or the other, right? But when you just talk to people, when you're not behind the screen, right? You talk to people and you realize that a lot of people can actually be persuaded a little bit, and they might not want to be so radical in one way. And so when you bring them common sense, and as you and I keep talking about, right? So at the Democrat convention, they had Andrew Cuomo look at you with a dead face
Ooh.
and say, it's the European virus. It's the
Yes.
European
Yes.
virus. And then this guy is writing a book
Mhm.
about how to lead in the coronavirus, even though his state has more than double the next state and his
Yes.
death rate. I mean, they like to treat Florida and Texas like the redheaded stepchildren of the coronavirus, but they have more cases but far less deaths. So talk to me about
Yes.
that, the Andrew Cuomo hypocrisy as well.
Oh, I mean, Cuomo is insane to me. I made a video about this that people can see on Instagram where I analyze some of the numbers, some of the misreporting, and then we talk about absolutely wild and blatantly biased it is to look at New York, which last I checked had north of 36,000 COVID deaths. 36,000, and yet their leader, they will look you in the eyes and say, New York, 36,000 deaths. Cuomo is a great leader. De Blasio, great leader. And then they'll go to Florida and they'll go to Texas and they'll say DeSantis in Florida, failing. Oh, by the way, like 4,000 deaths. 4,000 compared to 36,000. Texas, I believe 5,000, between 3 and 5,000. It's not comparable. It's not comparable.
Yes.
And yet they will sell this person to you as a potent, caring, effective leader. And then that's to say nothing about the corruption where they sent elderly patients to infected nursing homes. And if you ask me, they have blood on their hands, and I think it was intentional. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I talk about this a lot in my videos, but the left, if President Trump is for it, the left is against it, even if it saves lives.
Yes.
And that is scary to me, that to know, I mean, you have epidemiologists and stuff that have said lives have been lost because hydroxychloroquine was not more widely used.
Yes.
And to think that the media hates Trump so much that they were scared to death that he could be right about something, that they were okay with sacrificing lives with that. I mean, it's just absolute. And maybe we could talk a little bit about this. You see the book, like the way that language is used here, right? So like in 1984, like how they talk about how they manipulate words, how they manipulate language. So what the left will say is, I'm not saying hydroxychloroquine doesn't work. I'm just saying it's unproven. Or they'll, or how the left uses Black Lives Matter and how they say, well, hydroxychloroquine is unproven. They are, to be fair, they are just masters at how they can properly position something.
Marketing.
And
it's all marketing.
So talk to me about what you've seen with that.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. So the two big ones that stand out to me are pro-choice rather than pro-abortion. For that reason, as a staunch pro-life advocate, I do not call them pro-choice. I call them pro-abortion because that's what they are. I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-adoption. That's a choice. I'm pro-abstinence. That's a choice. I'm pro-keeping and raising the kid of the woman who you knocked up. That's a choice. I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-life. You are pro-abortion, speaking to the left. And then the other one is BLM. And the easy distinction here is the idea that Black Lives Matter, 100% I agree with. You show me someone who treats a Black life like it doesn't matter because it is Black, and I will stand against them with you. However, the organization which uses the term BLM, Black Lives Matter, is massively corrupt. They use minorities. They are largely owned and operated by Marxists and rich white individuals who want to power grab by using minorities, and I do not support that. So, but those are just two off the dome marketing terms. And the comparison I'd make there is, look, if I wanted to launder money and then be able to make anyone who speaks out against me look like a demon, what I would do is I'd name my organization Save the Puppies. And then I would do whatever I want with my Save the Puppies money. And if you spoke out against me, all I'd have to say is, oh, so you don't care about puppies. Oh, I get it. So you hate puppies. That's it.
100%.
And say, no, you just named it that cleverly. That's all you did. And I'd say, no, you hate puppies. That's what it is. And if the media was on my side, I would win that argument more times than I'd 100%. Lose.
Yes. And here's the thing, is like, it's just what you said, but it's even worse than what we're making it out to be here. Because look, they say Black Lives Matter. Now, when you take their name literally, then they come at you and say, hey, man, we're just focused on police brutality and racial injustice right now. Then we're like, oh, okay, fine. We'll just only come to you when, and then when something else happens, guess what? they weaponize the name Black Lives Matter in a broad fashion.
Oh, yeah.
So when they want to weaponize it against us, they go broad, but when they want to defend themselves, they go narrow.
Yes.
My God, this basketball player, the Orlando Magic basketball player, Orlando Isaac, the poor guy, all he did was stand for the national anthem, God forbid, and he didn't wear a Black Lives Matter t-shirt. And what did the journal ask him? The journalist asked him, by the way, this is not a Twitter troll. This is not some TikTok troll or some Instagram
mainstream journalist.
Mainstream journalist who is verified on Twitter says, "Excuse me, sir, do you believe that Black Lives matter?" He's a black man, and she asked him if he thought that Black lives actually mattered because he stood for the anthem and wasn't wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt. So that is a prime example of a mainstream Black Lives Matter supporter weaponizing the name in a broad fashion against people for not standing with the cause.
She didn't say, do you think that police brutality against minorities is bad?
Yes.
She said, do you believe Black Lives Matter? And that's exactly it. So if you're going to name your organization correctly, call it Black Lives Taken by White Cops Matter, because that's what they're doing. That's what they functionally do.
That's harder to put on a sign, though,
right?
And
it's
harder to chant.
And it's harder to market, and it's harder to sell, because when people say, oh, Black Lives Taken by White Cops Matter, let's see, how many unarmed black men in 2019? 9. Oh, how many Black lives suffered from all other forms of abuse? Thousands. Oh my gosh, we're addressing a minor speck of the problem when we should be treating every life like they actually matter. And I'm not even saying all lives, I'm saying every Black life. If you're going to pretend to care about every Black life, then actually care about them. So it's blatant hypocrisy. And for those who don't know, one of the reasons I'm passionate about this is because I'm from a mixed ethnic background. White, Black, and Hispanic are the 3 largest groups that make up who I am. So when I speak to these groups, I say, look, without people learning to get along, I wouldn't be here right now. So I understand this. Like, I get it. But we have to hold our leaders to a higher standard and not just be part of these marketing schemes which use race baiting to turn us against each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, that's really good stuff. So tell me now about your local race here. So we still got well over 1,000 people between Facebook, YouTube, and everything on here, which is awesome. So now tell me about your local race. Tell me what's going on there. You said yesterday that you're trying to get, I don't know his first name, but Doyle to debate you, right? Tell me how that whole process is going locally.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah. So, and anyone who's on the stream right now, if you want to ask me any questions, if you shoot any out here, I love talking policy, love interacting with people. But yes, so we are challenging Mike Doyle. We have challenged him. I did on public radio, and we have publicly on Twitter. He has been ignoring it and thus denying the debate. We're going to keep doing that, send him an official challenge now. And we have several interested parties in hosting it. So we're going to try and get that together. And the real question is just, what is he scared of? After 26 years, if you've got such a good record, all you should have to do is come out here and say, hey, look at how hard I've worked for you for 26 years. Debate over. It's done. He can't do that. He's terrified to do that. And that's why he's denying the debate. So I'm extremely excited to get him out there. And much like Joe Biden, look, I mean, the temperature on the ground and what I've been seeing through God's provision and through hard work is that this district's going to flip, and he can keep his head in the sand all he wants. It's not going to change what happens on November 3rd. His tactic, which I understand as an incumbent, is to ignore me so that he doesn't legitimize me by giving me the time of day. But it's going to bite him in the butt when all of a sudden he wakes up, maybe a week before election, maybe on election day, and he realizes he let something grow that he could have fought, and now it's too late. And so, and I'm excited. I mean, I wish that he would debate me, but we'll work around it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to keep that pressure on. You got to keep, because I know you are, because that's exactly what he's doing. He's probably thinking, oh, well, I mean, what do I have? It's kind of like the football team that's up by 25 points in the fourth quarter. They're like, or, it's like they perceive themselves to have this lead. They're like, hey, we're just going to, just cruise until run the clock out.
Yep.
Run
Yes, that's
clock
it.
out.
Run the clock out.
Why,
Yeah.
why take any risk? Well, on that, this is something I thought of right before we went live. Is on that note, I hope, and I mean this in the most respectful way possible, I hope that you can pull off an Alexandria or Ocasio-Cortez type upset in New York, and I say that in the most respectful way possible.
No,
That is
I
the
get
only
you, man.
semblance I want of AOC, but. I mean, because on that night, I mean, she was probably more surprised than anyone. She's like,
Mhm.
"Oh my gosh!" But you are
Yeah.
putting in the work, though. I mean, you're on the ground. You know, you're
Yeah.
on the ground. Tell me about the kind of events that you're putting on, and what events you have coming up, and also just other tactics, advertising, things that you're doing to get your name out there and talking to people, and also tell me about the door knocking thing. You and I were talking about
Heck
door
yeah.
knocking a lot.
Yeah, that's
Tell me
right.
about that.
Okay, yeah. So real quick, as a side note on AOC, yeah, look, I tell a lot of people I disagree with pretty much everything that she's ever said in a public light. But the truth is, she entered office at 28. She found a way to become a household name and a global influencer. And
Yeah.
now she is doing a lot of damage. And one of the reasons I got involved is I said, I complain about her around my kitchen table nightly with my friends and family. What can I do about it? And that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I believe if you can do something, you
awesome.
should do something. It's a very American idea. So then, speaking about doing something, yeah, we've got a bunch of at home and local meet and greets at parks, at people's houses, getting family, friends, your network, your coworkers together. And for anyone in Western PA, we're always looking to have more. We're doing that because I love talking policy with people. I love making these personal connections and letting you know who I am and what I am going to do. And so those meet and greets have been fantastic. We had a bunch this past weekend, and as well as some events with other candidates and with other influencers, radio personalities. And then we're really leaning heavily on the online presence, which we plan to do in 2019 because I believed that was an overlooked part of campaigning. And then, as luck would have it, 2020 happened and everybody went online because of COVID. And so that's kind of one of the silver linings is I planned this to be a strength of mine anyway. And then people were online in record numbers. So we've been seeing amazing growth on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, website traffic. All that stuff has been huge. And then interviews like this, virtual, and door knocking. So yes, we talked about this a little bit in private. What the left has done is, as you aptly stated, they painted themselves into a corner. Because what do we mean by that? They said, COVID-19 is going to kill us all, and you all need to stay inside. So now if you get a Democratic candidate on your doorstep, even if they're wearing a mask, even if they're 6 feet back, you're like, what are you doing out here? I thought COVID was going to kill us all. So in order to avoid that, they are not door knocking at all, nationally for Joe Biden and locally for my opponent as well. And I've got a bunch of friends running. I haven't seen their opponents out there either, or their people. And that's good for us because I'm door knocking and I'm respectful. I step more than 6 feet back, wear the mask, you know, all that good jazz. And nobody has said, oh, I don't want you here. Nobody said, don't knock on my door. None of that happens. And I'm able to make up ground now while they're inactive, like I said, sleeping with their heads in the sand, hoping that this crazy theory they made about lock-ins and all this nonsense is going to carry them through November. I've got news for you guys. It's not going to carry them through November. And I think we're going to see a huge, huge upset.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, man. I'm looking forward to it. I believe it will happen too, man. I believe it will happen because this is a classic example of they got their cozy little apple cart. They're like, hey, we're going to sit back on it. We don't need to campaign. That's exactly what AOC's opponent thought, man. Oh my gosh, look at me. I've got the suit. I've got the hair. I'm the distinguished man. And then this bartender comes out of nowhere and crushes it.
It's over.
Also, too, I mean, something that our audience will actually, love about you is, I don't know why I didn't mention this in the beginning. I'm so sorry. You are currently in the Air Force. Is that right? Tell me about your service. Thank you so much for your service, Luke. So tell me more about that. And are you still doing orders? Like, tell me about how that's all going.
Yeah. So I'm in the PA Air Guard, and I am with the 103rd Attack Squadron. And now I'm on what's called DSG. I'm a drill status guardsman, which means that I was on active orders for about 18 months prior to declaring. I was saving up money so I could campaign full time. And now I'm able to go in part time and to do several days every month and to do what I do from a campaigning perspective. So I'm able to keep the two lives separate, not mix politics and military service. And I go do a few days there and then I come back to campaigning. And we've actually got several several representatives who are on guard status. Most noteworthy is Tulsi Gabbard, who is in the Army Guard in Hawaii. And that's one of the things I really respect about her. So, yes, I mean, it's been a great ride, and it's a great mix. I'm able to experience both sides of the needs from a policy perspective, and that's why I'm glad to have that coupled.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for your service there. And speaking about policy, I want to just also quickly ask you, because obviously in different parts of the United States, there are people who care about certain policies more than others. So just maybe a couple of the top 2 or 3 policies that people are really resonating with that you have, because I want to talk about what you stand for and what your policies. I read through your things on your website last night. I love it. I love it. So tell me about some of the things that people that gravitate to, because I could ask you about some of the things that I liked a lot, but I want to hear what the voters really like about your policies that you're bringing forth.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go with number 1, and I think the easy talking point for anybody in a bipartisan way is term limits. And I say it's an easy talking point because we pretty much all agree on it. Like a few radicals don't on the fringes. And other than that, most people you talk to in a Democrat or Republican sense say, yeah, we should have term limits for senators and members of the U.S. House. And I believe that's because right now we're enduring an American elitist ruling class. We were never meant to endure that. And the long story short there is that term limits weren't needed when America was founded because we had a different system then. But then the FEC was implemented in the 1970s, gives massive advantages to an incumbent. Then modern technology gave name recognition. Modern laws gave people the right to, as an incumbent, send campaign-style mailers with taxpayer dollars. All of these are developments along the road that made an incumbent almost invulnerable and made term limits necessary. So I could rant on that for a long time, but I don't want to take up too much time on that.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone here, everyone in the comments, I want to see a big, bold term limits. Yeah, we already got a bunch of people. But I mean, if everyone believes that the term limits should just exist for Nancy Pelosi herself, then I want to see you guys in the comments. Tell me about term limits in the comments. We got a bunch of people here saying here. I'll put up a couple of those comments here. We got a bunch of people.
Term limits, yes.
Term limits, yes.
And here's the other thing: the more relational behind the term limits is like, okay, so why don't we have them then? If we've evolved to the point where we need them, why don't we have them? Well, 2 things. Number 1, it's very easy to see that people don't want to vote themselves out of a job. That's what you're asking them to do. But then the second part of that is, why don't they want to vote themselves out of a job or to migrate to another office? Well, that's because if they migrated to another office, like going from being a rep to a mayor, they would lose their incumbent advantage. They would largely lose that ability that they have to leverage that. And many of these people, like my opponent, 26-year elitist, these people don't have a life outside of politics. They don't have a community. They don't have a job to fall back on. They don't have experience or expertise. All they've done for decades on end is sit back and eat off of what your taxpayer dollars fund them. And so that gives essentially no impetus for these losers to get out of power and to actually represent us as they're meant to.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and what about another policy that people are really resonating with and are passionate about when you speak to them?
Yeah, so I'll give you 2 that are really easy. One is flat tax. I believe that the only fair tax is a flat tax. I believe that our progressive tax rates disincentivize growth. I believe that they're unfair to sections of the population, and that a proportional-based flat tax is the way forward. Most people agree with that. The other couple big ones, I'm very pro-life. Very pro-Second Amendment. And I also support prison and sentencing reform. I think that we see a real problem where nonviolent drug abusers, for something as simple as marijuana, are sent to prison. And then they come out, they're labeled as a convict, they can't get a job, they return to crime, they stop being a supportive member of society, a contributing part of society, and then we end up funding them while they live off of our dollar in prison. A much better way forward that we see from a data-driven perspective is sending those nonviolent drug abusers to reform school, which is actually cheaper and has a much better rate when you look at a recidivism rate compared to prison. So drug reform school for nonviolent drug offenders, I think, is a big one. And there's actually a big drug problem here in Western PA. So that's
Okay.
specifically big here. I guess the last one, sorry. Last one is,
No, go for it. Keep it up.
Okay, so defending energy jobs. I mean, in Western PA specifically, where we lean heavily on our unions that produce parts for energy production, shale and fracking, which has become extremely safe in the last decade. My opponent, Joe Biden, AOC, they all support the Green New Deal, which would eliminate, Joe Biden said, period, end of discussion. He wants to eliminate American shale and fracking. That's insane.
I mean, Trump was he simplified it not so long ago. He's all like, you lost Pennsylvania. Or no, I believe it was either Trump or someone else. They're like, all right, you lost Pennsylvania. Like you're 100% against fracking. You lost Pennsylvania. I want to talk about the tax law. I'm going to bring up an article, but it's not formatting properly. But because John Stossel did an amazing article a few years back where he talked about taxing the rich and how you talk about hurting incentives. And so I'm just going to read you a little bit here from the article here. But it says this. He says, progressives claim that an increase in tax rates won't stop producers from producing, but they presumably understand that people don't work for free. When the top marginal rate was 90%, then actor Ronald Reagan worked just half the year. As soon as he made enough money that each additional dollar was taxed at 90%, he stopped working and went off to ride horses. Reagan later said that woke him up to the damages that high taxes impose. So now Ronald Reagan is an actor, but imagine the films, the crews, or whatever that weren't made because he had no incentive to work the second half of the year. Now, this was a ridiculous tax that was 90%. Now, but however, still, I mean, for big producers, I mean, even 50, 60% of their income when they're taken out every single year, it's like, wow, man, that it's a blow. I mean, it's a blow no matter how successful people are like, oh, well, they make this kind of money. They can handle it. It's much different when you see like, oh, so that's how much the government is keeping. And by the way, what are they doing with all that? Right. You know what I'm saying? So I think that taxing is fabulous. If you have anything else to say about that, that'd be good. But
no, I think that's right on. I mean, I think that's well said. I think it paints exactly the picture of sweeping the rug out from under anyone who would want to grow on our shores here in America. They start realizing, oh my gosh, if I move elsewhere in production, or if I cut it off, cap it at a certain limit, which gives less incentive for competition, less incentive for consumerism, all things that we love. If I cap it, then I won't be taxed as high. And it's a bad idea, and it's unfair. I mean, we should all give out of what we have. This is even from my background as a Christian. It's a biblical idea to give out of what you have and to give on a percentage basis.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that is all really good. I'm going to share the electoral map one more time because I want to show everyone just how important Pennsylvania is here. Let me make sure this shows. We still got a lot of people on here. I'm glad to see you guys. If you do have any questions for Luke, put them in the comments and then I'll try to put them on the screen. So let me just do this here one more time. Oh man, of course it didn't save my map.
Hey, now I'll talk about another policy that I think it seems like if people are on this stream, they probably are a bit younger and more tech savvy. And I think that brings to mind for me that we need leaders who are in touch with the modern societal and technological needs of our world today. So what does that look like? Well, I think it can be very easily exemplified if you look at something like the congressional hearing of Mark Zuckerberg, where Mark Zuckerberg was asked by these congressmen and congresswomen ridiculous questions, which showed that they knew nothing about the social media that they were looking to add. They're looking to make policy about something, and they don't know anything about it. This would be like me trying to make policy about an automobile and not knowing if it mattered whether I put water or gasoline in the fuel tank. Like, I can't make policy effectively about something I know zero about. We see the same problem with guns. So, and I think social media, it drives so much of our news and our interaction today. We need people who actually understand its importance. So, wow, that was pretty fast. Nice. Once I get it by memory, I get it all there. But no, that's hilarious. I mean, it couldn't be amazing. He goes, "Sir, you don't charge for Facebook. How do you guys make money?" Right. And he's like, us. And I love the way Mark represent.
We run ads, but I love how he answers questions. Senator, Like he always starts
Yeah.
up, Congressman,
Yeah.
Senator, Congressman, like every single time. Congresswoman, we run ads, and Mark Zuckerberg is a pretty he's a pretty reserved guy, but even he started
Yeah.
to like crack a smile.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
no
'Cause it's
idea. They have
comical.
no
It's like,
idea.
right. And the comparison I'd give is right now, lots of social media is being run under policy with laws that were made to apply to a different world. So they were made to apply to
Yes.
traditional print media and network television. And we saw a similar thing in America when we switched from horse and buggies to car, automobile transportation.
Yeah.
We had to update our laws because it was still transportation in the same way that social media is still media. But yet we couldn't regulate automobiles and Mustangs in the same way that we regulated horses and carriages and literal Mustangs, like the horse.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
so our policy needed to evolve then for the new technology that we had. And in the same sense, it needs to evolve now because print media and cable television is not the same as Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's another thing too, is that you've got Facebook, let's say Facebook and Twitter, right? And they need to make a decision. They need to make a decision. Are we a platform, or are
Yes.
we, I of course forgot the other word. This is what you do
Publisher,
live.
right?
Publisher. Platform
Yeah.
or publisher? Because
Yes.
they want to crack down. I swear, man, there are some times on trendingpolitics.com where we'll post an article and they'll say,
Yeah.
well, you took this out of context. And I'm like, okay, so can I fix it? Yeah, sure. And I kid you not, man. We had one where we made a fact check, and then I had 3 other fact checkers fact check the fact check. And I'm like, guys,
Yeah.
I don't know what else to do here.
What else can we do?
Exactly
Yeah.
what you told me. But again, they have these independent fact checking sources, people. They're not even up north, 7 hours north of where I am in Northern California. They are all over the country. Facebook isn't in charge of it. So, but I don't mean to get too graphic here, but when someone kills someone on a live stream, or when something
It's on Twitter.
on Facebook happens, we're not responsible.
Yep.
We're just a publisher. We're just a platform. So
Yes,
people do
yes.
whatever they want, and so they try to have it both ways.
Well, and here's the really simple 3-strike system for me. And I agree with you. There should be policy about them because they are publishers. They are a type of new publisher. And here's the 3 strikes. Number 1, you lied by saying in public that you're not a publisher, and then in private in your congressional hearing, speaking of Facebook and Instagram, that you are a publisher. That's strike number 1. Strike number 2, you receive millions in government subsidies. You're not a private business. You are funded by taxpayer dollars through millions of dollars of government subsidies. Strike number 3, you lied to the public by saying you do not shadow ban, speaking about YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. You said you do not shadow ban, and then it was proven that you all do shadow ban. Those 3 strikes are enough for me to say you're not a traditional private company. You are a type of a publisher. We might need to rewrite the policy here, and you do need to be regulated so that free speech is supported, or so that you're actually a private platform, and you need to choose a side of the road here.
100%. Yeah, absolutely, man. That's key. Because I also saw one of that, or the social media policy on your policy platform as well, and I really agreed with that as well. So, guys, one last look here at the electoral map, as we talked about just how important Pennsylvania is, guys. Is that even if Trump, now I believe that he's still going to win the Rust Belt. I still believe that he's going to sweep it. But even if he were to drop Wisconsin, Michigan, even if he were to somehow even if he were to, I guess there's not much room for error, because as you and I stated right before, the Democrats get to start with 55 electoral votes here in California.
Go California, man.
I wish I could change it, man. I wish I could change
Come on.
it. But, I wish I could change it, but you know how that's been. I mean, Ronald Reagan won it back in the day, but even if he were to not win Michigan and Wisconsin, he could still do it by just taking Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Florida, you guys. So this is why Pennsylvania, we're out registering people, 5-1 in Pennsylvania, which is great news, great momentum. Everyone maybe we should just stop talking about that so they don't realize the problem that they have. Maybe we should just keep it a little hush hush. And but either way, so yeah, man.
And I'll
Luke,
say I mean, keep your eyes on Nevada, New Mexico, Colorado, Virginia, Minnesota, Michigan. I don't think they're I don't think they're entirely out of play.
Yeah, no, I don't either. I mean, sorry, let's look at this one more time. I mean, yes. So wait, you said what again? Nevada?
Yeah, Nevada, Michigan, Minnesota, which we spoke about, Virginia,
Yep.
and then Colorado and New Mexico. Man, I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked.
I
The
agree. I
center
agree.
has been cut out by the radical left. So
Yes.
many Democrats are just either not going to vote or not going to vote Democrat. That I think they're
Yes.
setting up for a loss here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, I mean, like you said, the center has been ripped out. And, guys, I know a lot of people that are used to me coming on here recapping the weekend. We had a lot of stuff happen in the weekend too. We had, there's some things going on, and now new riots are starting. So you
Yeah.
never know what's going to happen in these next 70 days. But man, we are going to blink, and it's going to be November 3rd, man. These days are going by fast, man. It's crazy. And
In
so,
a way, I have a lot to do, and another way, I can't wait because it's been like a 10-month work week, and
yeah.
it's a lot. It is a lot, but it's fun. I'm having a lot of fun with
Oh
it.
man, no, it's a blast. It's a blast. I mean, everyone watching here just realized, guys, that you are taking part in the final election that Donald J. Trump is ever going to be able to run in as president
That's right.
of the United States. Guys, cherish these last 72, 73 days because it's going to go by fast. And, one day we're going to be looking back on this wishing that, man, like one day these are
Remember
going to
the
be
good old days.
the good old days. Like these are going to be the good old days. Like there's a famous quote from The Office where he says, I wish there was a way to know when you were in the good old days
Yeah.
before you left them. And guys, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that things are going crazy here, but do you realize in 10, 15 years, we're going to be able to look back and say, I was there in 2020. I was in the thick of it all,
Yep.
So
I was there in a world where Donald Trump would say anything. You and I were talking the other day. Donald Trump would say the sky is blue, and the CNN article the next day would be, why the sky isn't technically blue. It's actually more of a tint of red.
Yes,
and you're like,
exactly.
oh my gosh, like, come
Yep,
on.
I know. Well, the way that our eyes reflect color, it may not actually be blue,
Exactly. Yeah, you gotta love it though. You just gotta love it.
So, man, this has been a lot of fun. This is actually pretty much the longest live stream we've ever done here. Everybody, go
Okay.
support Luke. NEGRON2020.com. I'm going to leave that up there. And everybody, we're going to do a recap of this interview. We're going to be posting it on trendingpolitics.com. Everybody, please, keep watching this. We are going to do if you came in here late, either rewind it and watch it, but we're also going to be doing a rebroadcast watch party at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern as well. So it's going to be going again. But everybody, so Luke, do you have any final words to say? And actually, you know what? Hold on. Let me see if we have any questions here. I haven't checked here. But tell us any final words you have here, and then
final words, simple. Yeah, check out the policy, and then social media, all linked at negron2020.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you can find everything that I am doing there. And I would just encourage people, number one, to be truly open-minded, challenge your own thoughts, challenge the thoughts of other people, be respectful, but think through things. Use reason, find evidence for why you believe what you believe. And then number two, specifically to the right side and the centrists, I would say the radicals want us to be scared, compliant, and silent, and refuse to be those things. I know that for the two of us, for Clayton and me, I think we probably get a lot of hate online. And I've come to a point where I just accept it and I roll with it. And everyone kind of wants to avoid that in life, understandably. Don't let that keep you away from fighting for what is yours. And I literally mean your property, your family, your free speech, these things that are intrinsic to us as free people. Don't be silent. Don't be scared. Don't give in to the fear, and stand for what you believe.
100%. Well, man, I'm telling you, Tim Pool. Do you know who Tim Pool is?
Yeah.
So he had a profound. I mean, it was crazy because I do listen to his podcast, but I listen to a lot of different shows, a lot of different podcasts. I was just so happened to be cleaning my pool, and I was listening to him live, and he said something, and I'm like,
cleaning the pool while listening to Tim Pool. I love it.
Yeah. I didn't even pick up on that. So I did that, right? So I'm listening to him in there, and I'm just like, all right. And he said something so profound, and I posted it on Trending Politics Instagram. But he said, look, here's why Antifa wants you to be silent, okay? They want you to be silent, and the media wants you to be silent because they want you to feel like you are alone.
Yes.
They want you to feel discouraged. They want to suppress your vote. They
Yes.
want you to feel so alone so that when you open your eyes on that morning in November, you know, why am I going to vote when things are already so bad for Trump? What's the point?
Yeah.
Don't give in. Don't listen to it, because that is what they want. So Antifa, cancel culture, they want to scare you. So I'm just second everything you just said, man. Like, don't ever feel like you're alone. We've got obviously tens of thousands of people that have watched this here today, and you're not alone. So keep, everybody keep it up here. We didn't really get too many questions here. There's a lot of Trump 2020s. A lot of, this person says, hey, Luke seems really reasonable to me, and there people are resonating with it. So if anyone's there in Pennsylvania, in the District 18, definitely go out and vote for him. And so one more time with your Twitter, Instagram, and website. I mean, we got the website below, everybody. Please go visit. Because guys, campaigning takes a lot, guys. Go out there, support Luke, NEGRON2020.com. Tell them again your Twitter handle, Instagram handle, and everything else real quick.
Yeah, so all linked at NEGRON2020.com, Facebook and Instagram at NEGRON for Congress. Twitter is going to be Luke Edison 20, Luke Edison 20.
Okay, cool. So here's what we're gonna do. Underneath this video on Facebook, we'll go actually in the YouTube links or whatever. Also, I'm gonna pin all of that to the top, and then I'm gonna do like a written summary of this here so that we can link you all up in there. But everybody, the fastest way to find everything is just go to negron2020.com. Make sure to do that right away. All the links will be there to help him out and support. So, hey, man, Luke, stay on here for a second because I'll chat with you after. Everybody, hey, Luke, man, I appreciate you being on here, man. It's been a really, really good time, man. And like I said, it's been over an hour. I normally go like 30, 40 minutes, but I knew
that
we were
flew by. That really flew by.
Once we were chatting, I was all like, once we chatted yesterday, I'm like, oh man, we're gonna have to definitely cut it short here. So good stuff, everybody. Here on Trending Politics tomorrow, same time, 12 p.m. Pacific. 3 p.m. Eastern. We got Luke here. Luke, man, we're going to be wishing you the best of luck. We're going to keep up with your race. And you know what? It's only August. So we're going to let's bring you back.
Right.
Let's bring you back. Let's bring you back a few times here before the election. All right, man?
All right, brother.
You guys have a good one. And for everyone else, you guys all have a great rest of your Monday and have a great week. Tonight is the first night of the RNC, everybody. We're going to be covering that, trendingpolitics.com. So be on there with us, and I'll be talking to you guys all later. You guys have a great rest of your day.